He watches, but he will never reach out. He scrolls through your pictures, lingers on your name, wonders if you still think about him. He wants to speak, but something holds him back. Maybe it's his pride. Maybe it's the fear of rejection. Or maybe, deep down, he knows he no longer has access to the woman you are becoming. You feel it, don't you? That invisible pull. The energy shifting around you. The unspoken tension in the air. He thought he could walk away without looking back. He thought he could move on and forget you. But here he is, trapped between regret and hesitation, watching from the shadows. He tells himself he made the right choice. But if that were true, why does he keep checking? Why does your presence still linger in his mind? Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." And that is the truth he refuses to face. He had you. He had something rare, something deep, something real. But his ambition was weak. He wanted comfort, not challenge. He wanted easy, not extraordinary. And now he watches, but he will never reach out, because reaching out would mean admitting he made a mistake. It would mean confronting the truth he has been running from, that he let go of the one thing he should have fought to keep. Right now, he waits. He wonders. He hopes you'll break first. He expects a message, a sign, a moment of weakness where you let him back in. But queens do not chase. Queens do not wait. Queens do not shrink themselves to fit into a love that was never worthy of them in the first place. Think of a flame. A man will warm his hands by the fire, enjoy its glow, and take in its warmth. But what happens when he leaves it behind, thinking he can always come back? One day, when he reaches for the heat he once took for granted, he finds nothing but cold ashes. That is what he is starting to realize. You were not just another woman. You were the fire. And now, he stands in the cold, watching from a distance, knowing that the warmth he once felt is no longer his to claim. He might pretend he doesn't care. He might act like he has moved on. But understand this, no man truly forgets a woman who was real. He may find distractions. He may surround himself with noise. But in the quiet moments when the world slows down, your absence will hit him like a storm. He will remember your voice, your touch, the way you made him feel like he could be more. And when that moment comes, when his mind drifts back to what he lost, he will feel a regret deeper than any words can describe. But you do not wait for his regret. You do not sit in the past, hoping he will return. Because you have stepped into something greater, your own power, your own light, your own life. He watches, but that is all he can do. The road back to you no longer exists. And while he lingers in the shadows of his own choices, you rise into the woman you were always meant to be. Number 1. He wants the fire, but fears the flames. He watches you, but he keeps his distance. He stares at his screen, scrolling through your pictures, replaying old conversations in his mind, feeling the heat of your presence, even in your absence. He wants to reach out, but something stops him. Not because he doesn't want you. Oh, he wants you more than he will ever admit. But wanting is not the same as having. He craves the fire, but he fears the flames. He thought he could walk away. He thought he could replace you, move on, and pretend that you were just another chapter in his story. But now, here he is, still stuck in the same loop, unable to let go, unable to move forward, unable to step back into your world. Because to reach out would mean facing the truth he was not strong enough to handle you. He was not ready for the depth of your love, the power of your presence, the kind of fire that does not just warm, but transforms. The great Seneca once said, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests the strong," and that is where he failed. He wanted your warmth, but he was not willing to endure the heat it takes to keep a fire burning. He thought he could have you without effort, without commitment, without sacrifice. But real love is not for the weak. And now, as you rise higher, shining brighter, he watches from the shadows, knowing he is no longer worthy to stand in your light. Think of a moth and a flame. The moth is drawn to the light, enchanted by its glow, intoxicated by its warmth. But the closer it gets, the more it hesitates, afraid of what might happen if it touches something so powerful. That is exactly what is happening in his mind. He feels the pull, the undeniable force of your presence, but he also knows that stepping forward would require strength he does not have. And so he lingers, watching from a distance, never daring to step too close. He tells himself that time will fix things, that maybe one day he will be ready, that maybe you are still the same woman he left behind, still waiting, still hoping he will return. But deep down, he knows the truth. You are no longer waiting. You have stepped into your own power, into your own light, into a version of yourself that no longer needs him. And that terrifies him more than anything. He thought you would break without him. He thought his absence would leave you shattered. But instead, you became something greater, something unstoppable. You are not a flickering candle, waiting for the wind to decide your fate. You are the fire itself. And a man who is too weak to handle your flames does not deserve your warmth. Queens, hear this truth he watches, but he will never reach out. Not because he doesn't feel anything, but because he feels too much. He knows that the moment he steps back into your life, he will have to face the fire he once tried to escape. And by then, he will realize he was never built to withstand the heat. Write this in the comments and claim it. I am the fire he will never touch again. Let the world know that you are done waiting, done hoping, done dimming your light for a man who was never strong enough to handle it. And queens, if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of the fire inside, you take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you the truth, to remind you of your worth, and to help you rise higher than ever before. Because you were never meant to be small. You were meant to reign. Number 2. His ego is louder than his heart. He picks up his phone, stares at your name, and puts it back down. Again and again. His heart tells him to reach out, to fix what he broke, to say the words he buried in silence. But his ego screams louder. It tells him to wait, to act like he doesn't care, to pretend he is unaffected. And so he watches from a distance, trapped by his own pride, knowing deep down that every moment of silence is just another brick in the wall between you and him. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." But that is exactly his problem. He is not man enough to face his own emotions. He knows he made mistakes. He knows he let go of something rare, something real. But admitting that would mean facing his own flaws. It would mean saying, "I was wrong." And his pride will never let him do that. Right now, he is at war with himself. His heart wants to break the silence, to feel the warmth of your presence again. But his ego refuses to let him take that first step. He would rather sit in the shadows, watching you, hoping you will be the one to reach out first. Because if you do, he wins. He gets to keep his pride. He gets to tell himself that you still care, that he still has a place in your life. But the moment you refuse to chase, the moment you stay silent, that is the moment he realizes he is losing you. Think of a man standing on the shore, watching a ship sail away. He could call out, he could run to the edge, he could dive into the water and fight for what he is losing, but instead, he stays still, telling himself that the ship will turn around on its own. He convinces himself that if he waits long enough, the waves will bring it back to him. But the truth? The truth is that the further the ship sails, the smaller it becomes. And one day, when he finally decides to call out, to reach for what he lost, the ship will already be gone, too far to ever return. That is exactly what is happening now. He watches you, but he does not move. He is waiting for a sign, a moment, an excuse to avoid doing what his heart is telling him to do. But queens, let me tell you something about men like this. If his ego is bigger than his love, then his love was never strong enough to begin with. And a man like that, he does not deserve to stand beside a woman like you. He thought you would always be there. He thought his silence would break you, make you question yourself, make you chase him. But what he never expected was that you would rise instead, that you would take the pain and turn it into power, that you would stop looking back and start walking forward. And now he watches, realizing that the woman he thought would always wait is the woman he can no longer reach. You see, a queen does not lower herself to pull a man out of his own pride. A queen does not beg for love, does not ask to be seen, does not waste her time waiting for a man who is too weak to admit his own mistakes. A queen moves forward. A queen knows her worth. A queen does not chase, because what is meant for her will never need to be begged for. So let him stay in his silence. Let him drown in the weight of his own pride. Let him watch as you become the woman he will spend a lifetime regretting. Because, queens, this is your moment. This is your rise. You are no longer waiting, no longer questioning, no longer searching for love in a place that never valued it in the first place. Write this in the comments and claim it. His ego is his prison, but I am already free. Let the world know that you are done waiting, done wondering, done giving your heart to a man who let his pride stand in the way of something real. And queens, if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of your strength, your power, your worth, then like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you the truth, to remind you that you were never meant to be small, never meant to be silent. You were meant to reign. Number 3. He feels you slipping away, and it terrifies him. He feels it, the shift, the silence, the way your energy no longer bends toward him like it once did. He thought he had time. He thought you would always be there, waiting, hoping, and holding space for him in your heart. But something is different now. He doesn't hear from you. He doesn't feel your presence in his life the way he used to. And deep down, it terrifies him. At first, he ignored it. He told himself you were just giving him space, that any moment now you would reach out, you would check in, you would remind him that he still had a place in your world. But as the days pass, as the silence stretches longer and longer, doubt begins to creep in. He scrolls through old messages, replays old conversations, searching for proof that he still has a hold on you. But with every second that passes without a sign from you, something inside him begins to sink. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." And that is exactly what he fears: change. Because if you are no longer chasing, no longer waiting, no longer hoping, then what does that mean? It means he is losing the one thing he never thought he would lose. He is losing you. You see, he thought he could take his time. He thought he could explore other options, play his games, keep you in the background while he did whatever he wanted. He believed that no matter how far he wandered, you would still be there when he finally turned back around. But now, as he looks over his shoulder, he doesn't see you standing where he left you. He sees distance. He sees change. He sees a woman who is slipping away, and it is hitting him harder than he ever imagined. Think of a man standing at the shore, watching the tide pull away from him. He never worried before. The water always returned. It always circled back, lapping at his feet, letting him know it was still there. But one day, the waves don't come back. The ocean recedes, pulling further and further into the horizon, and suddenly he is left standing on dry land, realizing that the water that once surrounded him is now beyond his reach. That is what he is feeling right now. The slow, agonizing fear of knowing that you, the woman he took for granted, are drifting too far away to ever return. He wants to reach out. His fingers hover over his phone. His mind runs through all the possible things he could say, but the fear of rejection, of confirmation that you are truly gone, keeps him frozen. He waits for you to break first, to give him a sign that he still holds a place in your heart. But you don't. You keep moving. You keep rising. And with each passing day, the weight of his own silence becomes unbearable. At night, when the distractions fade and he is left alone with his thoughts, that is when he feels it the most. The absence, the emptiness, the regret. He pictures you smiling, laughing, and glowing in a world where he's no longer part of your story. And he knows he could have had forever, but instead, he's left with nothing but memories and what-ifs. But you are not looking back. You are not waiting. Because, Queens, this is your moment of power. You are stepping into the life you were always meant to live. You are no longer the woman who waits in the shadows, hoping for a man to come to his senses. You are the woman who reigns, the woman who understands that the right man will never make you feel like an option, never leave you questioning your worth, never expect you to stand still while he decides whether or not you are enough. And now he is the one left wondering. He is the one questioning everything, because you were never his to control, never his to keep waiting, never his to take for granted. And the painful truth? He realizes it too late. He thought he could come back whenever he wanted, but now he sees the road back to you no longer exists. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. I am slipping away, and he will never reach me again. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of your strength, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you truth, to remind you of the power that has always been inside you. Because queens do not chase, do not wait, do not break. Queens rise. And now, it's your time. Number 4. He knows that once he speaks, the illusion breaks. He stares at the message screen, fingers hovering, mind racing. He types a few words, then deletes them, again and again. He replays the past, the last conversation, and the way you used to look at him. His heart tells him to reach out, but his pride keeps his mouth shut and his hands still. Because the second he speaks, the illusion shatters. He convinced himself that walking away was the right choice. He told himself that you would wait, that if he ever wanted, he could come back and pick up where he left off. But something has changed. You have changed. And now he can feel it. The power has shifted. The woman he left behind is no longer the same woman he once knew. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And that is his greatest fear, because reaching out would mean stepping up. It would mean taking responsibility. It would mean facing you and worse, facing himself. And he knows he is not ready for that. Right now, he still holds on to a false sense of control. As long as he stays silent, he can pretend that everything is fine. He can tell himself that you still think about him the way he thinks about you. He can believe that you're waiting, that if he ever wanted, he could return and you would still be standing there, arms open. But deep inside, he knows that's a lie. He feels the shift. He feels your absence, and it terrifies him. Think of a man lost at sea. At first, he drifts away, convinced he will always find his way back. But the further he goes, the more he realizes the shore he left behind is no longer in sight. That is what is happening to him now. He is lost in the choices he made, and for the first time, he is realizing he may never find his way back to you again. He hesitates because the moment he reaches out, he risks hearing the words he dreads the most. "I've moved on." He fears looking into your eyes and seeing indifference where love once lived. He knows that the woman he left has risen into something he can no longer touch. He does not stay silent because he doesn't care. He stays silent because he cares too much, but lacks the courage to face his own mistakes. Because the moment he speaks, the moment he tries to come back, he will realize he no longer has access to you. But queens, you do not wait for him to break his silence. You do not sit in the shadows, hoping he gathers the courage to reach out. You are not a woman who waits. You are a woman who rises. A fire does not wait for those who walked away from its warmth. A throne does not beg to be reclaimed by the one who abandoned it. And you do not shrink to make it easier for a man to return. He had his chance. He made his choice. And now the only thing left for him is regret. He will watch. He will wonder. He will replay every moment in his mind. But he will never reach out because he knows that the second he does, the illusion he clings to will break. Queens, hear this loud and clear. I am no longer within his reach. Write it in the comments. Let it be known. Because you are no longer waiting, no longer hoping, no longer shrinking yourself for a man who was too weak to hold on. And if this message reminded you of your worth, if it awakened something inside you, like this video and subscribe. We are here, working hard to bring you the truth, the lessons, the fire you need to step into your power. Because queens do not wait, they reign. Number 5. He thought you would break, but now you shine without him. He thought you would break. He thought his absence would leave you shattered, lost, waiting for a message that would never come. He believed walking away would destroy you, that you would be left in the dark, whispering his name like a forgotten prayer. But here's the truth he never saw coming. You did not break. You did not fall. You did not fade. You became something even greater. He watches now, in silence, pretending he doesn't care. But deep down, he knows. He can see it. The glow in your skin, the fire in your eyes, the way you carry yourself like a woman who has reclaimed her worth. He wanted you weak, but now you're untouchable. He wanted you broken, but now you shine in a way that blinds him with regret. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And that is exactly what you have done. You did not chase, you did not beg, you did not crumble under the weight of his absence. Instead, you became the woman he never thought you would be, a woman who does not need him. Think of the moon. The moon does not shrink when the night is over. It does not beg the sun to return. It does not fight for attention. It simply glows, no matter who is watching. That is you now. You are no longer waiting for him to see your worth. You are shining because it is who you are, and nothing he does, nothing he says, and nothing he regrets will ever change that. He expected you to reach out. He thought you would send one last message, one last "I miss you," one last desperate attempt to remind him of what he left behind. But the silence, the way you have disappeared from his world without a trace, that is what haunts him the most. He checks again and again, hoping to see a sign that you still care. But instead, he sees a woman he no longer recognizes, a woman who has stepped into her power, into her beauty, into her confidence. And that is a pain he never prepared for. The truth is, he thought leaving you behind meant he won. He thought you would sit in the ruins of what he destroyed, waiting, hoping, longing for the day he would return. But now he realizes that he lost something rare, something irreplaceable, and something he can never touch again. Because you did not break. You became a force. You turned pain into power, loneliness into strength, heartbreak into the foundation of the woman you were always meant to be. A fire does not ask permission to burn. A diamond does not need to prove its worth. And you do not need his validation, his regret, or his apology to shine. Queens, write this in the comments and claim it. I did not break. I became untouchable. Let the world know that you are done looking back, done waiting, done proving anything to a man who was too blind to see your worth. Number 6. He knows you deserve more, but admitting that would break him. He knows you deserved more love, more effort, more respect. But admitting that would break him. That would force him to face the truth he's been running from, the truth that he was never enough for you. So instead, he stays silent, watching from a distance, pretending he doesn't care. But deep down, he does. He had something rare, something deep. A woman who saw him, understood him, gave him a love that no one else ever could. But he took it for granted, thinking you would always be there. And now he watches in quiet regret, knowing he let go of something priceless. But reaching out would mean confessing that he failed you, and his ego won't let him do that. Seneca once said, "A guilty mind can never rest." And that is exactly why he cannot stop thinking about you. His pride is his prison. He convinces himself that if he ignores the pain, it will go away. That if he pretends to be happy, he won't have to face the emptiness inside him. But reality is cruel. And every time he sees you thriving, glowing, untouchable, he is reminded of the truth. You deserved more than what he gave. And now he has to live with that regret. Think of a man holding a delicate piece of glass in his hands. At first, he handles it carelessly, assuming it will never break. But one day, he tightens his grip too hard, and it shatters. He panics, trying to piece it back together, but no matter how hard he tries, it will never be the same again. That is exactly how he feels about you. He had you, he lost you, and no matter how much he wants to go back, he knows he can't. Right now, he is lost in a battle with himself. His heart tells him to reach out, to try again, to fix what he destroyed. But his mind is drowning in fear. What if you don't answer? What if you've moved on? What if you finally see that you were always too good for him? These thoughts haunt him, keeping him stuck in the silence he created. He thought you would break without him. He thought you would sit in the pain, waiting for him to come back. But what he never expected was for you to rise, to step into your power, to become the kind of woman he can no longer reach. That is what scares him the most. Not your anger, not your absence, but your transformation. Because now, you are no longer the woman he left. You are the woman he can never have again. And that, queens, is the most painful lesson of all. He knows he failed you. He knows he wasn't enough. And the weight of that truth will sit heavy on his chest every time he thinks of you. But this is no longer your burden to carry, because you are no longer waiting for an apology that will never come. You are walking forward, head high, heart unshaken, knowing that the love you gave was never wasted. It was just misplaced. Queens, write this in the comments and claim it. He knows I deserved more, but now I choose myself. Let the world know that you are done settling, done waiting, done looking back. Number 7. He feels the absence of your love, but it's too late to turn back. He feels it now, the silence, the space where your love used to be. At first, he thought he could walk away, that your presence was something replaceable, and that he would be just fine without you. But something is different now. The warmth you once gave, gone. The way you looked at him like he was the only man in the world. A memory slipping further out of reach. He expected you to stay, to wait, to be there just in case he ever wanted to come back. But now he feels the absence of your love, and it's too late to turn back. He might not say it out loud, but it's eating at him. He notices the emptiness in his life, the way nothing quite feels the same. The new faces, the distractions, and the temporary highs, they don't compare to what he lost. He tries to push it away, to convince himself that he made the right decision. But in the quiet moments, when the world slows down and there's no one left to impress, your absence is the loudest thing in the room. Seneca once said, "A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver." And that is what he lost, the pure, genuine love of a woman who gave from the heart. He had something rare, something real, and he let it go, thinking he could find it again. But love like yours, it doesn't come twice. Think of an artist who once owned a masterpiece, a painting so exquisite, so unique, that no other piece of art in the world could compare. But over time, he took it for granted. He stopped looking at it, stopped appreciating its depth. And one day, he carelessly sold it, thinking he could always find something just as beautiful. But as the years passed, as he wandered through galleries and searched for something that could move him the same way, he realized the truth he had already given away, the one masterpiece he would never find again. And the worst part, the new owner would never sell it back. That is what he is starting to understand now. He had something irreplaceable, and now that it's gone, he can never have it again. He scrolls through old photos, rereads old conversations, replays memories in his head, searching for a way to feel what he once felt with you. But no matter how much he reminisces, no matter how much he regrets, the door is closed, and you are no longer waiting on the other side. At first, he thought time would work in his favor, that maybe one day he could just walk back in, say the right words, and reclaim what he lost. But the longer he waits, the higher you rise. You are no longer the woman he left behind. You have grown, transformed, evolved into something he no longer has access to. He watches from a distance, feeling the weight of his choices, but the road back to you no longer exists. And now, this is where you step into your power. This is where you stop looking back. Stop wondering if he will ever realize. Stop hoping for the apology that will never come. Because a queen does not wait for a man to understand her worth. She walks forward, unshaken, unstoppable, and untouchable. He had his chance. He lost it. And now he gets to live with that regret, while you rise into the woman you were always meant to be. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim it. My absence is his greatest regret. Number 8. He will wait for the right moment, but that moment will never come. He keeps telling himself, maybe tomorrow. He stares at his phone, fingers hovering over your name, heart pounding, mind racing with 100 excuses. Maybe next week. Maybe when things settle down. Maybe when I'm ready. But deep down, he knows the truth. That moment will never come. Because reaching out means facing everything he has been running from. It means admitting that he lost something he will never get back. And that is a truth he is too weak to face. He thought time would make it easier. He thought if he ignored the pull, if he kept himself distracted, the urge to reach out would fade. But instead, it has only grown stronger. The more he watches you from a distance, the more he sees you thriving, the more he realizes the mistake he made. And now he waits, stuck between pride and regret, trapped in his own silence, hoping that you will be the one to break first. A man who hesitates is a man who has already lost. He lost the moment he thought you would wait forever. He lost the moment he assumed he could come back whenever he wanted. He lost the moment he made you question your worth. And now he watches, but he does not move, because deep down he knows the woman he once knew no longer exists. Think of an old, rusted key. Once it fit perfectly into a lock, opening doors with ease. But leave it untouched for too long, and it changes. The metal weakens, the edges dull, and when it is finally forced into the lock again, it no longer turns. That is what has happened between you and him. He thought he could walk away and come back whenever it suited him. But time has changed everything. You have changed. And now, the door he once walked through so easily has been locked forever. He keeps waiting for the right moment, the perfect time to reach out, to fix what he broke, to undo the damage. But there is no perfect time, because every second he hesitates, every day he remains silent. He's only proving one thing: you were never his priority. Because a man who truly values you does not wait until it is convenient to show up. He shows up, he fights. He does not risk losing you in the first place. But you You are not waiting for him to wake up. You are not standing in the past, hoping that he will find his way back. Because queens do not wait for a man to decide if they are worth it. You are already rising, stepping into a new version of yourself, one that does not lower her standards, one that does not hold space for a man who could not see her value the first time. He watches, but he will not move. Not because he doesn't want to, but because he knows that by now he has nothing left to offer you. He can feel it in his bones, the power shift. The moment he reaches out, he will not be met with the same love, the same warmth, the same woman he once took for granted. Because that woman no longer exists. In her place stands a force, a woman so untouchable, so radiant, so powerful that he barely recognizes her. And now it is too late. Queens, no more waiting, no more wondering if he will finally wake up, if he will finally realize what he lost, if he will finally fight for you. Because the truth is, if he truly wanted you, he would be here. And if he's not, then his absence is your answer. Write this in the comments and claim it. I am not waiting. He lost me forever. Let the world know that from this moment on, you are done looking back. You are done hoping. You are done shrinking yourself for a man who could not see your worth. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of your strength, if it lit a fire inside you, then like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you the truth, to remind you that you were never meant to chase. You were meant to reign.